Good morning. Thank you all for joining us today. My name is Dr. Nika White, the Greenville City Director for Walker's Legacy, and I am so honored and pleased today to serve as your moderator. Named in honor of Madam C.J. Walker, Walker's Legacy was created with the mission to cultivate an ecosystem of access designed to inspire, equip, and engage a global network of professional and entrepreneurial women of color. You can learn more about Walker's Legacy by joining us online at www.walkerslegacy.com. The Cowork and Connect virtual morning chat series is aimed to learn the best practices for remote work, the importance of mentoring, staying sharp while staying in, financial planning for small businesses, and self-care routine tips during this time of quarantine and social distancing. So, let's get started with today's program. Today's guest is Dr. Isfahan Chambers Harris. Dr. Isfahan earned her BS in biology from the City University of New York, Medgar Evers College, and PhD in biomedical sciences from Morehouse School of Medicine, Cardiovascular Research Institute. She officially began her medical career as a postdoctoral fellow at Vanderbilt School of Medicine. She conducted genetic research on an autoimmune disease, sarcoidosis, and lupus while at Vanderbilt. Dr. Isfahan also earned her master's in public health, which allowed her to focus on diseases that affect disadvantaged populations. After earning her master's, she went on to become a presidential STEM fellow at the National Institute of Health in Bethesda, Maryland. Alodia Hair Care was birthed out of Dr. Isfahan's personal experiences with unnatural toxic hair products. Facing excessive hair damage, she turned to her expertise in biology and chemistry. Over a 3-year period filled with countless research and experimentation, she developed transformative products made with organic and natural ingredients. In 2017, Dr. Isfahan officially launched Alodia. Alodia is a tech-based organic hair care product company that's focused on personalizing product choices based on scalp health, unique hair type, and styling preferences. All 3 areas connect to Alodia Hair Care's mission to help women learn, love, and grow their hair. Please help me welcome Dr. Isfahan Chambers Harris. How are you this morning?
Thank you so much. I'm great. How are you?
Doing very well. We are delighted to have you and look forward to all that you're going to share with this community. And we just appreciate your time. I want to jump right in because we do have some questions that I know that our audience is going to be very interested in hearing your perspectives on and just learning more about your background, your work, and your story, because stories are important these days. Sure. So the first is, you have an amazing background, as I just shared, by communicating your accolades and your experience and your background specifically in STEM. So what were your original plans before you landed on actually what you're doing now?
Yeah, so my original plans was to basically work in government labs. So working at the National Institutes of Health and just using my skill set to actually research diseases that disproportionately affect minority populations, whether it be Black Americans or children or women. That was my original focus. However, going through the whole PhD process, I realized that being in a lab really wasn't for me. I like to connect with people. And a lot of times when you're in a lab, although the research that you're doing is extremely important, you're kind of isolated and you're not really, at least for me, I can't speak for all scientists, but you're not really feeling that you're having an impact on the community that you're trying to affect. So, you know, that kind of made me feel like maybe this isn't for me. And I think we'll talk a little more about how I kind of transitioned into getting into the hair care field and that sort of thing. But that was originally my plan.
No, great. Thank you so very much. And so as I shared in your introduction, obviously a very bad hair day experience is what turned the trajectory of your life, and it's what allowed you to then transition into this space. And so can you share that story a little bit more in depth with us, your feelings and your thoughts at that time, and how that inspired you to move on this path that you're on right now?
Sure. So I wouldn't even say it was a bad day. It was a really bad years, basically. I would say it was like a decade of just not really taking care of my hair and just not understanding. I feel that that information, particularly for us that have textured hair types, it's just not out there. And a lot of times, particularly back then when I was in school around 2010, 2011, there weren't a lot of products on the market that, number one, didn't contain all of these toxic ingredients, and number two, actually wanted to nourish your follicle and nourish your hair strands. Many of the products out on the market were just wanting to make money off of our communities, and they wanted to make them as cheaply as possible so that they can keep their margins, high. So, just using those products, I won't name the names, but using those products, and it just totally damaged my hair, and more importantly, my scalp, because the health of hair begins at the scalp. So I had an incredibly itchy scalp. It was to the point where I was just like raking my scalp every single day. It was really, really bad. So I said, I'm in medical school right now. I absolutely love making products. I always have. Let me try to come up with something that can actually help my hair. And then also on the disease side of it, I was seeing, particularly researching autoimmune diseases such as lupus and sarcoidosis that affect African-American women at a disproportionate level. I realized that what we are putting inside of our bodies as well as on our bodies actually affects the disease pathology and I would say progress, like the progression of the disease. So I really wanted to make something that actually was natural and would help me with retaining length and help with the scalp health. So that's where I began. And I just would work in my little kitchen apartment, in my apartment, the kitchen there. And I made my very first product, a product that we actually have in our collection today. And it was our Nourish and Grow Healthy Hair and Scalp Oil. And I used it for a period of about, I would say, a month and a half. And my hair just totally transformed from using those products that are laden with petroleum and mineral oil and things that are really bad for our hair to transitioning and using more natural ingredients. It really transformed my scalp and my hair. So I was really excited back then in 2010, 2011 to start my line. But as a fellow, as a student still, I lacked the resources that it takes to actually come out with a line. So I just decided to start a free YouTube channel where I just shared my tips and tricks with women like myself struggling to grow healthy hair. And then I would say fast forward to 2014, that's when I was in my career as a scientist at the National Institutes of Health. And this is when I really dedicated the time that it takes and the resources to create my line. And it took me about 3 years to create my signature products. And in 2017 is when we officially launched. So that's kind of in a nutshell how, a bad hair experience over 10 years of just dealing with relaxers and horrible products led me to the path that I'm on today.
That is awesome. I appreciate you sharing that story. And let me just, by the way, stop now and share that your hair is absolutely beautiful. It looks incredibly healthy.
Yours too. Yours is beautiful.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I know. So I'm sure that I speak probably on behalf of a number of women who wear their hair natural that have gone through process of trying so many different products to find what's going to work for hair, and each person's hair is different. And so I want you to talk a little bit about how your products are unique and what makes them distinct from a lot of the other natural hair care products and hair care products in general that's out there on the market for people to select from.
Yeah, so I would say it stems back to 2014. So like I said, I created each and every one of the products that we have in our line. But as I was creating them, I talked to hundreds of women. So I created my one little product, which was the Nourish and Grow Healthy Hair and Scalp Oil. Then I would create maybe one or two more. I would take those to vending events and farmers markets. And of course, I wanted to sell products so that I could reinvest into my formulations. But one of my key goals was to just get out there and talk to women and see what their pain points were with regards to their hair care routine. And what started to emerge from those conversations was the fact that, like you said, women were overwhelmed and confused when picking hair care products. Yes. So they would go into like a Target or a Sally's, they see this aisle worth of product, right? And then it's like, what do I pick? Do I pick it versus like the pretty packaging? Maybe a friend might recommend it, or maybe I saw a YouTube video. And then you kind of pick these products, and not only are you picking products, but you're picking them from different lines. So you might have a shampoo from, let's say, Shea Moisture. You might pick a deep conditioner from another brand, 2 and 3 stylers. You come back home, and because on a scientific level, they're not formulated to work together, and you know, you're picking and choosing and not really knowing how to use them, a lot of times the products are not working. So I talked to all of these women, and they were just really frustrated at the fact that they're spending all this money and it's not working. And then another aspect was women were becoming more savvy and more educated, and they realized that the products that they were using contained tons of toxic ingredients that really were affecting their body system. So they really desired a hair product line that they could trust for themselves and their family. So I feel like Alodia, we're different in the fact that we make products that are working together. So we have things called kits, and in the kits, you get 4 to 5 products and an easy step-by-step guide. So for example, it looks like you're wearing a wash and go, right? So you would get, yeah, and I love my wash and go. So I would recommend for you our wash and go kit. So it makes it really easy. You don't have to go and say, okay, what products do I use? You just pick up your kit. Your kit comes with the 5 products that you use. It also comes with an easy step-by-step guide. So you just follow steps 1 through 5 and you're ready to go. And not only do our products help with styling, they also help with length retention and just the overall health of the hair. And then also, we are free of any toxic ingredients. There are about 20 to 25 toxic ingredients that are known to be used in minority or textured hair care products. We do not contain them. And then finally, I would say, because of my science background, we are very much interested in helping with the overall health of the scalp. So a lot of the products on market today, they are more so interested in the styling of the hair, which is totally fine. We're interested in the styling as well as the overall scalp health. So our products help with problem areas such as psoriasis, eczema, scalp dermatitis, dry scalp dandruff, any of those things. If you have traction alopecia or genetic thinning, our products, we have products in our line that can help you. So I think all of those 3 little focuses are what makes Alodia way more different, I would say, than a lot of the competitors on the market.
No, I'm definitely sold, and I look forward to trying your products.
Thank you.
And you talked about how your STEM background certainly gives you an advantage in terms of working in the beauty industry. So I want you to elaborate a little bit further on that. And then also, are there some other matches for STEM that people may not realize? For those that perhaps are on the fence of, you know, maybe thinking about trying to go into the beauty industry?
Yes, I'm glad you have this question, because I do speak to a lot of students that are PhD students or MD students, and they're not really knowing what path to take. They want to take a kind of different path and not the traditional path of a PhD scientist. And what I tell them is that their PhD training equips them with transferable skill sets that they can take anywhere, particularly in the entrepreneurial realm, because I feel that being a PhD scientist, you kind of are an entrepreneur in a sense. You're kind of the master of your own ship, and you would know as well, being a doctor yourself, that you're kind of the master of your own ship. You have to push logically your idea forward. You also have to understand the wealth of knowledge that is out there before you actually make a hypothesis and bring forth your new idea. And that's exactly what you do as a business person. You kind of look at the market, you say, okay, where are there gaps in the market? You know, it's the same thing we do as scientists. Where are the gaps in the research? And then you kind of put forth your new idea, and then you kind of test it to see if it works. And if people start buying your product, then okay, it's working. If you know your project or your scientific experiment is working, or if it's not, then you kind of have to fix it. So it's very, very similar to the ups and downs and the hills and you know, the peaks and the valleys that you have as a business person. It's totally, I would say, the same. It kind of mirrors being a PhD scientist. So I always encourage, if someone is on the fence but really has a unique idea, to go for it, because you do have those skills. It's very transferable to being an entrepreneur.
I love the fact that you are amplifying the business savvy side of all of this, because you know this community is filled with a lot of women, you know, business owners,
yes,
as well as career professionals. But you know, we don't have enough women of color in the STEM fields, and so I think that it is important to find opportunities to help connect those points for people who are looking for solutions for what can I do with this. And so that's definitely a connection point there. And I work with a number of entrepreneurs. And so one of the things that I find, and I want to get you, Dr. Isfahan, to speak to this, is that sometimes we go into business because we have a love for our craft and our trade, right? And we have a passion for that. But I always say that that passion alone, and even just being astute in your craft and your trade alone, does not necessarily mean that you're going to be a good business owner, an entrepreneur, someone that can take their business to the next level. And so it sounds like you were well prepared for that full process. And so can you just share, and this is an unscripted question, but I think it's appropriate and very valid for our audience. Can you share what you did to prepare yourself for the entrepreneurship side of this venture that you've been on for quite some time successfully?
That's a great question. So I wouldn't necessarily say I was prepared. I would say I was naive, and I was very, you know, aspirational. You know, I wanted to kind of change the hair care landscape. But what I quickly realized, and I think it kind of goes back to my PhD training, is that you have to learn quickly. You have to learn quickly, and you have to be able to logically move your business forward. So, you know, even if you're failing, you fail forward. You say, okay, it's exactly the same as being a scientist. Like, okay, I failed at this because I failed a lot. And, you know, I'm still learning as I go. But what is the lesson to learn from this failure? And how do I make me and the business better? So I do that all the time. And I used to do that even when I was a practicing kind of PhD scientist in the lab, because 85% of the time your lab experiments are failing and you're like, what's going on, you know? So you kind of have to kind of take those failures, learn from them, and logically move your business or your project forward. So I think I've been able to do that well, not necessarily just being prepared, because I didn't really even know what to prepare for. I've never had a business. I don't have any family members that have businesses like that at all. So, you know, it's just kind of failing forward. And then I also would say that, you know, following your instinct and your gut is something that is really key. At first, I didn't trust myself, and I was very insecure at my lack of knowledge of being an entrepreneur and having that background. So I tended to trust others instead of myself. And you'll have a lot of people, unfortunately, that will see that in you and kind of, you know, take advantage of that, and in turn take a lot of money away from you. So you kind of have to say, if you're going to do this, go all in, you're going to have to trust your instincts. And I know that kind of sounds cliche, but if you feel something is not right, like just let it go and try to figure out another way to do it. If you don't, you're going to lose a lot of money. I lost a lot of money, but you know, you kind of learn from those lessons and you move on. So I hope I answered your question.
No, you did. Absolutely. Well stated. And go forward. I think that's such a powerful message in and of itself. Sometimes we're afraid to try because we think that this is not going to work. We're going to fail, but that's where the biggest lessons and the biggest successes oftentimes are really realized. And so I appreciate the acknowledgement of the failing forward piece. So I'm going off script again, bear with me, but I feel this is such an important conversation with this community. You know, what do you say to the women who have not yet embraced their natural hair, and that's something that they desire for themselves? You know, I'm sure that you're part of so many conversations where women of color, they grapple with that situation, and sometimes it can really even weigh heavy on them. And so what's been some of the conversations that you've been involved in that helps to empower women to feel okay about embracing their natural hair, if that's their choice? Because we all have a choice and we all have preferences, and we need to certainly lean into that. But what's been the conversations you've been having relevant to that?
Yeah, I think, you know, like you said, it's totally someone's choice. So I don't like the whole hair Nazi, like you have to be natural. I'm like, you know,
Right.
if someone wants to have a relaxer, they can. If you want to transition, you can, you know. So if someone wants to, I say, align yourself with a brand such as Alodia, where we're not just about selling product, we're also about teaching. So I think knowledge is power. So, you know, I remember myself 10 years back, and I had hair that you could see through, and it was barely reaching my jawline. And I just I lacked the education that was necessary to actually grow my hair and to make it healthy and make being natural sustainable, because, you know, it can seem overwhelming. So I think just aligning yourself with a brand like Alodia, where we are all about teaching you, and not teaching you on a high scientific level, but breaking it down in layman's terms so that you can understand. And then also using our kits, the easy to use kits, so that, you know, it's just making it easier for you. So that would be, and that's what I always tell people that are interested. I say, you know, just watch some of our blog posts, or, you know, watch some of my videos. We do something called Texture Tuesday, where I'm just kind of breaking down the science of it in layman's terms, so that you can start to educate yourself and understand like what you're putting on your hair to help you ease your way from going from that relaxer into being natural. And you don't have to do it like, you know, now. If you want to, you can cut off your hair and, you know, rock your shortcut. But for me, I didn't do that. I transitioned for 1.5 years. So, you know, it's all upon what the person wants to do and how slow you want to do it. So, you know, you don't have to go all in. You can kind of do it slow, you know, but just, I think the key is to educate yourself enough so that you understand what you're going through and it's not so overwhelming.
Yes, be informed by your personal choice, your personal preference, be informed. And for those that do have a preference to wear their hair natural, I would add, to own it, be confident in it, and know that it is professional and it is deserving to be on any stage, in any boardroom, in any professional setting. And I think that's important to amplify. And so,
true.
What have I not asked you about that you would like to share with this audience?
You know, I am so pro, like when I meet women that are mothers and they're career women, and I so identify with that. And like, my heart just like goes out to women that are trying to do it all, because I'm one of them. I have 3 kids, one that's 6 months and 2 twin boys.
Wow.
And I had my career and, you know, trying to juggle all of that. So, you know, just speaking to moms is something that is like near and dear to my heart, particularly moms that want to have a business. Just letting them know that, you know, start where you are, you know, don't feel like you have to, you know, find the right time or, you know, do a whole lot. Whatever you're doing is enough. Me, I started at my kitchen, making a couple of products, you know, maybe in a 6-month time span. You know, it was on my time frame because I had all of these kids and these other responsibilities, but eventually you will get there. And, you know, I feel for the moms out there that are trying to, because it's really, really difficult, but, you know, just hang in there. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out to us at Alodia.
You're such an inspiration. So the fact that you have a 6-month-old and 2 twin boys is like amazing, and you're continuing to charter waters in a way and do it with great poise and success. And so I really appreciate your story. So I'm going to turn now to the chat, because we want to invite questions from those in our audience that are participating today. And so this first question is an interest in your products. And so what is the website to check out your products and your YouTube channel?
Yes, so my website is www.alodia, Alodia, and Alodia is spelled Alodia, and then it's haircare.com. So it's alodiahaircare.com. And then our YouTube channel is also Alodia Hair Care. So you can just search us there. And then also Instagram, Facebook, it's the same, Alodia Hair Care.
Okay, fantastic. And yeah, actually it's in the chat. So for those of you who want to take that down so you can go and visit the website, please do. And can people get your products from any storefronts?
So, we haven't even gone to that, getting into a big box retailer. We're doing really well online, and we call it direct to consumer. However, we are thinking to get into Sephora and Target in the near future. But for now, we sell direct to consumer right from our website. And it's working really well. We do have a few independent shops that sell our products in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. And if you go on our website, you can click on like the retailer link, and it'll show you the storefronts that actually physically sell our products.
Okay, for those in the DC, Maryland area.
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. So another question here, what advice do you have for someone that wants to transition to their natural hair?
Yes, so I would say, once again, just informing yourself. You can look at a lot of the blogs on our YouTube channel. We also, if you go to our website, we actually have a tab where you can click on transitioning hair, and it'll show you the products that you can use for your transitioning hair. And then just thinking off the top of my head, I would say definitely treat your hair with care, because that area where your relaxed hair meets your natural hair, it's very fragile. They call it the line of demarcation. So you really have to be careful when you're combing or, styling your hair. You really have to be careful. So doing protective styling, maybe I used to do twists all the time, like my natural hair in twists, or maybe like a loose bun so that you're not like putting tension on your hair follicles, but at least it's being pulled back and off your face, I think are key to transitioning in a healthy way. You don't want to put too much heat on your hair or doing a lot of high tension styles, such as like faux braids and twists and things like that, like actually adding hair to your twists or weaves and things like that, because you're actually going to be damaging the natural hair that's coming out, as well as your follicles. And you definitely don't want to do that. So just kind of doing the protective styling, and then you can go on our website and click the transitioning link, and you can see the products that we recommend for you.
So at Walker's Legacy, we're all about amplifying the voice and being really vested in the interest of success for women of color professionals, women of color entrepreneurs. And so again, you have been such an inspiration today in sharing with us. I also want to be very respectful of what's top of mind for so many people right now. We are still dealing with the looming effects of COVID, right? And so, by the way, a lot of your hair care strategies that you've been sharing is going to be useful to many in this audience, because many of us are still working remotely, right? And so we want to make sure we're protecting our hair. But the point that I wanted to make with going to this next, in this next direction, is that we all are being impacted in a myriad of ways by what's happening with the racial injustice that has been in place now for 400 plus years. And so I don't want to not acknowledge what's top of mind for all of us. And so to honor the lives of the recent individuals that have unjustly lost their lives, I want to call their names, and then I have a question for you that I would like for you to respond to. So Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, as well as George Floyd, it's important that we continue to call their names as part of the Black Lives Matter movement. It gives humanity to those individuals, and I think it helps to underscore the pain and the trauma and the deep effects that are plaguing so many in our community, particularly those in the Black community. And so my question to you is, did you have a defining moment that made you wake up to racism that you would like to share with this audience? I think that sharing stories helps us to get proximate to the issues, especially for those that are non-Black, non-people of color. And I just want to give you a moment to address that question.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I would say it I would have to go back to my childhood. I was raised in Brooklyn, New York. And, you know, it's a very urban environment. I was born in the 80s, the height of the crack epidemic, and just it was a very dangerous environment for us to be brought up in. And, you know, just realizing that where I lived, it was, you know, urban environment, very violent. And then I could walk, I would say maybe 15 minutes for anyone that knows Brooklyn. I lived in Crown Heights, and I could walk to like the Prospect Park area, right? And the people looked different. They weren't Black, they were white people. They were more, you know, affluent. And just seeing how like their neighborhood was protected, and just seeing like the dichotomy in that, like maybe 15 minutes down the street, my neighborhood is violence. There's crack vials on the street. There's like real pain and suffering in my community. And then I could go to Prospect Park or the Prospect Park area, and it's like, you know, nice and people are safe and that type of thing. So I think that kind of difference in the world kind of at a very young age showed me what racism has done generationally, and even how it has trickled down to our neighborhoods, and how what the types of food that we have, and, you know, having food deserts in where I lived, and then we can go to a Prospect Park neighborhood and it's like fresh fruits and vegetables and things like that. So I think I saw that at an early age, you know, and then of course having my parents always letting us see things like Eyes on the Prize that came on PBS, and seeing those types of specials. So we were very much understanding about what's going on racially in our country, and understanding how it's gone back for 400 years. I think it really hits home when I became a mom, and I'm a mom of 3 Black boys, you know, and I look at them and they're so sweet and kind and beautiful, you know, but I know at some point they're going to get old, they're going to grow, they're going to get older, and people are going to look at them as a threat. So like every time I think about that, even saying that now, I get like a pit in my stomach, you know, because you're raising these boys and they're your universe, and, you know, you bring them to the world and they are looking at them like they're a threat, and they're absolutely not. So, you know, that really is hitting home, because it's not just me anymore, or it's not just my brother or my dad. It's like these children that we're raising. So it's just, it's a really interesting time, but I am hopeful when I look and I turn on the TV and I see that it's Black people and white people, Asians and Hispanics, young, white, you know, old, you know, female, men, everyone is out there protesting and saying Black Lives Matter. So that really makes me feel hopeful that when my kids become 18 or even 14, look at Tamir Rice, you know, that maybe, just maybe, things will change. So, so that's kind of my take on what's going on now. And, you know, I'm glad that you spoke the people's names, you know, Breonna Rice, and, you know, it's a really sad state that we're in right now, but I am still hopeful.
No, I think that's a great way to end our conversations. We have to instill hope, and you've done that in a variety of ways today, not only with your words and comments at the end, but equally important with just inspiring us through your story, your success, and what you're doing. People were watching, and so we just really appreciate you sharing your story with our audience today. And again, we have put the website into the chat so that people can remain in touch with you. And so certainly encourage everyone to reach out, learn about the products, and connect on social media. So at this time, we're going to invite you all to stay and hang out online with us for a virtual co-working session. It is best when in gallery view in Zoom. There's no agenda, just the opportunity to work together virtually and hold space for each other and connect. If you cannot stay, please join us for following future programs that I'll share right now. We have an upcoming speaker for our Ask a Boss series on Friday, June 19th, featuring Beyonce Knowles, Director of Social Responsibility, Bay Good, Ivy McGregor. That should be great. I had to make sure I was quickly to address that. Not Beyonce Knowles, but the Director of Social Responsibility. We also going to have, she's also a Howard University Woman in Business Digital Summit on Friday, June 26th. So that's a separate event that's taking place. And continue to join us every Wednesday during the month of June for our Cowork and Connect series. We hope you all have a great day, and we really are appreciative of sharing this time with us. Thank you again, Doctor.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Sure.